Note the disclaimer, and remember that my Patreon supporters got to see preview images, work in progress shots, and high-resolution images of the completed figure before anybody else did. If you want to join them, the link is in the description right below. Hello my friends, this is Wake Angel 2001 coming at you with a custom that is a personal project. Why? Well, because it's just one of those cases where I was in the store and I saw an action figure that was a perfect base for something that I've been wanting to make for a while, and I just had to snatch it up. In this case, it's Gardevoir, which has become one of my favorite, if not my actual favorite, Pokemon. Now, the thing is, I remember when Generation 3 first came out and I saw the designs of the Pokemon of that generation and they didn't impress me. One of the ones that didn't impress me was Gardevoir itself, ironically enough. I remember when I first saw it, it was just the sprite artwork without any context. And I thought that it was supposed to be some kind of grass-type Pokemon that looked to be based off of like a spring onion or something. You know, because it has that round green head and then it's long and white. So I thought, what is that? Some kind of spring onion Pokemon? What the heck is that supposed to be? Of course, in later games, it would actually flesh Gardevoir out and kind of embrace the fact that everyone kind of took it as the ultimate Poke Waifu. And nowadays, Gardevoir's 3D model actually looks like a human woman. They've even given it more feminine curves. So, yeah, it's like... I'm pretty sure Game Freak intentionally redesigned Gardevoir for the 3D models to reflect the way that people had been treating her on the internet. Because, remember, Gardevoir is a Pokemon that can be male, and in fact has a 50-50 gender ratio. So, although I'm wondering how many people actually raise male Gardevoirs, because I personally have raised about 4, but I never actually, no, at least 5, and all of them are female. I make my male Ralts into Gallades. That's just how I do. But we are not here to talk about the proclivities of the Pokemon fan base. We are here to make a toy. And when I was in the Disney store, which is right across the street from the store that I work in, I saw the Toy Box Infinity figures. It's an action figure line based off of the minifigures from Disney Infinity. Weird that they would cancel the Disney Infinity game and then start making proper action figures based off of it. But, you know, that's Disney for you. And I saw this Princess Leia, and I'm like, oh, hey, she has the perfect physique to be a Gardevoir. Like, she even has the dress thing. So, I grabbed her, and I just had to do it. This is just one of those things where I just couldn't let it sit idle. So the first thing I did, of course, was cover up the head. I didn't want to make the head I couldn't make the head perfectly round because then it would appear unnaturally large, and I didn't want it to cut too much away. Although I did cut away the hair loops and sculpt over them. Like once the face parts had hardened, I made her hair in this distinct shape. It's kind of Amy Rose adjacent, a little bit Amy Rose-ish, if you ask me. And the ears, I tried to sculpt them out of epoxy sculpt, but I just couldn't make anything that flat and sharp. It kept sticking to my fingers and coming out lumpy, so I cut them out of craft foam. Now in the second picture, it's really hard to see, but I did sand part of the craft foam into like it thinner so that the ears would stick out slightly and not be so obvious as panels on the side of her head. It's kind of hard to tell because it's white on white on white, but hey, that's how Gardevoir do, right? So yeah, that's Gardevoir with her china white skin, her grass green hair, and those delightfully pink eyes. Modifications to the dress were pretty simple. I minimized Leia's belt as much as I could, and then I cut slits up the front and back of the dress to, you know, be like Gardevoir's split open dress thing. And the back of the dress needed to stick out some more. So what I did was I cut these this elongated heart-shaped flower petal looking thing, and then I glued that into the apex of the slit that I had cut. That, combined with the shape memory of the rubberized plastic itself, actually helps the dress push itself out into the appropriate shape for a Gardevoir dress. And you know what? A lot of people, they say things like, hey, like, like all the Pokemon clothing is actually their skin, like because they want to tell about how disturbing it is that Gardevoir has a flesh skirt, or that Sylveon's ribbons are made out of flesh, and I don't understand the rule that says that Pokemon aren't wearing clothes, because like they're not Poke animals and plants. Remember, they're Pokemon, monsters. Monsters can wear clothes. I mean, if the Bokoblins from the Legend of Zelda series know enough to put a loincloth on, then I'm willing to bet that the Pokemon actually understand the concept of modesty and have clothes. I'm just saying, because like a lot of people, they gotta go into weird, creepy Cronenberg places with this, and I just don't understand that. Speaking of weird, creepy Cronenberg things, here's the giant guitar pick that impales the figure. Yeah, that's the heart piece. It's just made out of cardstock. It was the only thing I could find that was stiff and thin enough to actually fit into a slot that I could cut with the cutting disc attachment of my Dremel tool. It's scaled to be the way that it is in the proper Pokemon franchise, and not the smaller heart piece of the Fighting Gardevoir in Pokken Tournament, just so you know that. The most controversial part of this figure is probably going to be the fact that I left Princess Leia's feet on, because Gardevoir don't have feet, but my action figure does. The reason? It's pretty simple. Gardevoir doesn't need feet because it doesn't feel the effects of gravity thanks to its psychic abilities. It just floats around all over the place. My action figure does not have that ability. So it's going to need feet to stand because it can feel the effects of gravity. And no, the skirt itself is not going to be strong enough to hold it up. Besides, I'll make the legs too short anyway. So all that left is the arms. I cut the thumbs off of the Princess Leia hands so that I would be able to sculpt over them, because I had a vain hope that I might still be able to preserve the wrists, but that just wasn't happening, so I'm sorry, no wrists. As for the way that Gardevoir's hands are made, I decided to go with the three-fingered hand that kind of makes it look like she has a thumb. I know, technically speaking, Gardevoir doesn't have thumbs, just three weird little fingers, but like almost everybody that draws comics and fan art of Gardevoir depicts them using their three fingers like, Ninja Turtle fingers. Like there's a thumb and two fingers. So I decided to keep going with that because it'll make the figure look a little bit more expressive and not like it just has three little slashy bits. Although when you think about it, if Gardevoir do have fingers, proper fingers they can use to manipulate stuff, why don't they rule the Pokemon world? I mean, they're as smart as people, they're about the same size and shape as people. Then again, they are of the amorphous egg group and not the human-shaped egg group. Maybe they only look humanoid because humans are around, and they developed that way to imitate us because when they're Raltses, they rely upon us to take care of them, and that's why they look like little babies. Anyway, let's take a look at the completed figure. So, as per usual, this Pokemon-based custom will be named after one of mine. Specifically, this shall henceforth be known as Fiona, the Pokemon, the Gardevoir that I raised in Pokemon Y, as a beloved member of my party, and the oldest member of it aside from the starter himself, which is Susano, the Greninja. Because I've raised a lot of Gardevoir. Like the first one I ever raised, I named Zelda, and then she had a Gallade named Link that was her companion. Then I went totally insane and Masuda bred two shiny Raltses, one male and one female, so I could have a shiny Gardevoir and Gallade. They're named Guinevere and Gawain for characters from the Arthurian legend. And of course, like I did have I did have a couple that had perfect IVs and outstanding potential, so I couldn't not raise them, so I ended up raising a few more Gardevoirs. But yeah, like, Gardevoir might be the one Pokemon that I've raised the most times, but, it's still, she's my favorite. And this one's Fiona, so, yeah, fight me. This is Wake Angel 2001, signing off.